We are here today to record the oral history program of the Heritage Center with Professor R. Radhakrishnan and Professor N. Rajagopalan from the Civil Engineering Department. I am Kalyanaraman also from Civil Engineering Department. Very thankful to you for joining us this afternoon, sir. Professor Radhakrishnan, you are one of the earliest faculty to join the institute way back. So will you please give a brief outline of how you joined the institute, what your background was prior to joining the institute? At the time of your joining, there was an interview.
Yes.
Yeah? Can you briefly play out how you were interviewed in those days for a faculty?
To be very frank, first time I was interviewed in Vice Chancellor's chamber. It's called Yael Moriar was chairman, Vice Chancellor. He was the chairman of the Board of Governors. So the meeting was held in, the interview was held in Madras University, Vice Chancellor's chamber, they call it. I think first time I was not selected. Second time I was selected. I don't know the reason for that one. Second time also applied. The main reason for that one was, at that time Madras University had 75% and above was first class. No, I got 74.5. I was put in second class. So I quite remember Yael Moriar asked me, there is one class called first class, do you know? Yes, sir. I don't know what happened. Then we reseparated our degrees. They made it 60% first class and we were given first class degree. So second time when I came for interview, I was a first class MSc with first rank. Because that was always there. They don't bother about first rank, they want first class at that time. So I was not selected first time. Second time I was selected.
So who were all in the committee, selection
committees
committee?
At that time, Yael Moriar was chairman here, Professor
doesn't matter if you don't remember. But
Chief Engineer, Madras Chief Engineer was there. I remember.
Were it tested at that time more for your teaching abilities or research abilities in the interview?
No, only teaching.
Only teaching ability.
Research abilities.
It was a time when, as I just interviewed, Abraham was the chief engineer of Tamil Nadu and Yael Moriar was the chairman. See, as far as I am concerned, I joined the institute in 61 December. At that time, civil engineering faculty strength was 7. I was the 8th faculty to join. And earlier I was in Irrigation Research Station, Pundi, as a PWD staff member. Back in 59, when the institute was inaugurated at CLRI campus, I was a student leader of College of Engineering, Guindy. So I was invited for it. I was, as a student, when we see such a big function, was elated and saying that I should become a member of IIT. That was my motivation. And I didn't know about how teaching is going to be or how research is going to be or industry going to be. But with all that, Yael Moriar was there, Nehru was there to inaugurate, Jawaharlal Nehru was there, Pandit Nehru. So I was motivated to come. From Pundi I applied here and I was only a B.Tech degree holder. That is BE degree holder, BE honours was the degree for me because after certain about 66.56%, you are getting a degree called BE Honours of the then Madras University College of Engineering, Guindy. I was one of the rank holders and therefore I was called in for interview. The interview was at CLRI because there is nothing here. Interview was CLRI. The director Sengupta was the chairman. Yael Moriar could not come on that day. And it was even for the associate lecturer's position, the chairman of the interview committee was the chairman of the Board of Governors. And the expert member I do remember happens to be my own professor at College of Engineering, Guindy. It was Professor V. Kalyanaraman. And I was pleasantly surprised to see a known figure on that panel. And I was the first associate lecturer to be selected at IIT Madras. And afterwards, within 6 months of that day, the rank of associate lecturer was made temporary. Therefore, we had only 3 associate lecturers in the institute as permanent associate lecturers. And I was the one amongst them and the first amongst them. I joined the department, there were only 7 faculties. I joined as 8th and I was the youngest of the faculty members of that. And afterwards, the department developed. And my motivation I have already told you because of that meeting that made me come to this place.
So you said you attended the inaugural program of the institute. Where was this held?
At CLRI campus.
So
it is between AC College and CLRI. No, in CLRI and AC College. Yes, There is a big area open. Even now there is an auditorium there. At that place a big Pavdal was erected and Pandit Nehru was there to inaugurate. As a student member, I was invited for that, and I went there.
Do you remember anything that Professor Nehru said on that day of inauguration? Anything
I was so young for that to understand that what he is talking about. But he was talking about, see, originally he made one mention. College of Engineering Guindy was to be upgraded to IIT. That was the first intention when the IIT system was thought of. When it is, as it was announced at that meeting, Kamraj wanted two good institutes in Madras itself, that is at that time Madras, Chennai was Tamil Nadu, Chennai and all were not there. Two good institutes, he said that we would have one more institute and that will be Institute of Technology. And that's how we got IIT Chennai separately. Otherwise, it would have been College of Engineering upgraded to Anna University, IIT Madras. But it was decided to have that, and that was mentioned in the meeting when it was, I think it is the education minister, it is C. Subramaniam, I suppose. I don't remember the name of that time. But the main aim is to have one more institute.
And I think, as you said, Kamaraj was one main force behind IIT Madras coming
to Chennai.
Not only that, actually the reason is not that correct. In the government wanted to have the admission control.
Central government?
Yes, no, the state government.
No.
Admission control they wanted to have it, which the central government refused. So IIT was started. Otherwise, I would have gone to Indian Engineering College.
Okay.
That is the main reason.
Okay. Now, both of you did not have a PhD
Yes.
when you joined IIT Madras.
Yes. He didn't have even MTech.
Things have changed a lot since then. Now things are very different.
Yes.
Can you go through your joining this department, how you had to qualify yourself to be in a PhD? Both of you got
Actually, it is really interesting. I got only BE honors degree when I joined. Then I found that all of those faculty members are MSc, and I wanted to qualify myself for MSc and asked for leave just after 1 year. At that time they said, we are going to start MTech and you can do part-time MTech. That was the assurance given by the then director and registrar Natarajan. I met him personally, and both the director and registrar, they said, why don't you do it here? Because to get an admission at Anna University, that is the then College of Engineering Guindy, for a postgraduate program, the admission is based on so many reservations. It's very difficult. I was fortunate to get one, therefore I was pleading that I should get that. The second is, at that time it is 18 months program for a postgraduate at College of Engineering Guindy. Whereas at IIT started the program started straight away with 2 years. That means I will be studying for 6 more months. Added to it, they said for part time it will take 3 years for you. For 1.5 years I was going to be delayed if the degree is there. I pleaded and they said, no, we cannot send a faculty member of IIT to College of Engineering Guindy, if at all you have to resign. I didn't feel like resigning, and therefore I stayed back. I was the first part-time MTech student of IIT Chennai. And
IIT Madras?
IIT Madras. Even today it is IIT Madras Chennai only.
IIT Madras Civil Engineering Department or IIT Madras itself?
IIT Madras Civil Engineering Department. Okay. It was then the head of the department was also one C.G. Swaminathan was the head of the department when I was interviewed. By the time I joined in December, C.G. Swaminathan has left and Professor K.S. Shankaran was the man in charge of the department. He was an assistant professor. And it was in 62 Professor Varghese joined, Professor May-June of Varghese. For the structural engineering, whether to start a postgraduate in structural engineering was in question, because Professor Ruve was the professor in hydraulics, and therefore they were sure to have a postgraduate in hydraulics and water resource. There was only hydraulic engineering. But when Varghese joined as head of the department, they started structures also. It was a tough time for me whether to join hydraulics as well as or structures. Since I was in irrigation research station Pundi earlier, Ruve wanted me to join hydraulics, whereas I wanted to stay in structural engineering. So after a lot of discussions, I came to structural engineering. That was a part-time program for an MTech. At that time, PhD programs were not there at all in the institute because there are not enough research degree holders in the institute as faculty members. If I remember correct, the total faculty strength was less than 100. All accommodated in building sciences block only, less than 100. I would say that civil engineering had 8, mechanical engineering may have about 11 to 12, and that's all the department, and all not many, I don't say even 1 or 2 had PhD in that, only in science departments. Professor M.V.C. Sastry, Professor Rama Sastry, and mathematics professor at that time S.K. Srinivasan, and earlier team is Das and S.K. They were the persons who were having PhD degrees. Hence, there was no question of research being started at that age.
Research being guided by?
Guided. There is no research guidance facility, though the ideas were there. If I can talk a little more on that, it was the period was stated to be by Professor Sengupta, let us stabilize education, BTech degree education course and development of the institute. That was the intentions of having the first few years activities in IIT Madras. Hence, the research was started little later when A. Ramchandran took over as the director.
We will come to the research also. So you went on, finished your MTech, and then went on to, when did you do your PhD?
After MTech, I stayed for 3 years as a lecturer here. Then I was, there is an institute scholarship for DAAD, a scholarship for faculty members, and it is for 1 year, extendable for 1 more year, 2 years.
Very many faculty members at that time from here went on to do PhD in this thing.
Not PhD. They were the contract or the agreement signed between the German government and Indian government is that they will finish their PhD only in India and they will get their degree only in Indian Institute of Technology, and they can have their training in Germany. Accordingly, all the members who went there were going there for 1 year, a little more than that. But I was keen in doing a PhD there. Therefore, I didn't go through this institute route. Secondly, amongst the civil engineering staff, I was the junior most. Hence, the chances of getting into that group is also very difficult. For I went through the Government of India's scholarship scheme, wherein there were at least 10 candidates were selected per year to be sent to Germany. I was one selected in that group. And therefore, I went to Germany in 1970, 69 and 70, and I decided to do PhD. There was also some difficulty because the department has given me leave for 1 year as usual for 6 months extra. Then I said I would prefer to go on leave on loss of pay. But the institute said no, as a policy we should go leave with pay for 18 months. I went there. And then I used the influence of the professor at Germany to get it extended for next 6 months. They gave me. The institute also paid me for the 2nd year. When I applied for the 3rd year, the institute then registrar C.V. Sethunathan sent a very, very strong reply. Very strong for me as an youngster. Said that you better return to India immediately or get out of this institute immediately. You choose between these two. Such was the wordings of that letter. I showed it to my then professor at Germany. He, with all this experience, for me it was not rather a threat. For him it was an enjoyable joke. And he said, don't bother, we will make you. He talked to the German consulate and also the German ministry, and he said that I have decided to offer him a PhD here, doctorate here. Please tell me the procedure by which we can get it done. They said, no, the procedure is, as far as we are concerned, we have no problem, but we have problem from the Indian government. The Indian government again refused to say that he cannot get a degree from Germany, he should get a degree only from India. And therefore they said, extended the scholarship for 6 more months, 2 years and 6 months. Please advise him to go back to India for completing his research. And I was keen in getting a German degree. I told my German professor, if that is the case, I would resign from IIT Chennai. Then also a letter came saying that if you have to resign, you have to pay back the salaries paid to you for 2.5 years. It's a very huge sum for me. And therefore, it's in a dilemma. Once again, the professor, German professor, came into discussions. He wrote to the Indian government that if the main aim of IIT is to for development of academic activities, I should see that this letter is withdrawn. And it was the director then, A. Ramchandra, who said yes, the letter was withdrawn, and I was asked to do that. But Government of India refused to give me scholarship because they said that as per the agreement between two ministries, we are not supposed to give for more than 2.5 years. I was supported by the Department of Civil Engineering or Structural Engineering in Stuttgart University, and they gave me assistantship for 6 months, and I completed in 3 years. And one of the shortest periods completed in 3 years. And also last 2 months, because the YOC, or what we call it as YOC, there is a that's called a Mühlenschep reform, and that was delayed, and they said that for those 2 months, professor himself gave his support for me, personal support from his consultancy assignment, were completed, and then I came back to India. He was also offering me a job in India in his company, which was having a work at Calcutta, Cable Stayed Bridge. He can say that you can go and join there. I said no, the institute has done me so much, I would not like to leave the institute. I came back and joined the institute. And at that time there was a small vacuum. The director Ramchandran left the institute, and Professor Sampath was holding in charge. And the director's position was not defined. Interviews were held, number of selections were made, and afterwards the final, of course I was not interviewed but selected based on my application. I joined here. The day of joining, the rank was assistant professor declared, but I was not allowed to join as assistant professor because I left the institute as lecturer. I was asked to join as lecturer, then I got the assistant professor. And then the actual research for activities, that is the PhD research done there. My own research is only from that onwards.
Sir, how about you, sir? You also joined with an MS and then you got a PhD.
Gandhi. So after that, here also the registration was there, of course. We have few people after Dr. Professor Varghese joined a department. So one PhD was there, they guided, and we registered for PhD. So first batch of students for the staff members sent to Germany. I was one among them, but it was only for 1 year. See, we have to get trained to do the work and then complete it, come here and complete it as a condition. So of course I was having a family, all those things, I didn't want to continue there forever. So 1 year, it was extended for another 3 months. I was in Braunschweig. After 4 months language course in small village where the population was about 1,000, 400 people and 600 cows. Then I went back to Braunschweig, where Braunschweig Institute was connected with the structural engineering department. Professor Eibel, Professor Cordina, all those things were there. So I was there doing my research work there. I completed almost, except the major part of it, the other one I have finished. And I came back with all my things in I think I went in, even forgot, 67 I went, 69 April I came back. But it took some time for me to complete because that model was, I have to make a real model, and then very small this one, and then vibrate, this is a big shell. Actually it is mathematical
Experimental.
Experimental.
Very experimental, both very difficult. You should make a model.
I forgot. You didn't mention the name of the institute where you did your PhD.
I did my PhD in the University of Stuttgart.
Stuttgart.
Institute for Massive Bau, University of Stuttgart was the place.
So I was from Braunschweig, I came here. It took quite some time for me to complete the work. Of course, after that, those days, 2 examiners must be from abroad. Not nine. One Indian, one foreign now. At the time both the exams were brought. And then the Viva will be conducted in India by two examiners. So one examiner was very quick in sending his report. Then to 3 months I got my. The other examiner took just 2 years.
2 years.
Yes.
Really? Okay.
That is only luck. They can't. Before that, everybody who went after me to Germany got their doctorates and got their promotion and everything else. I was.
The flavor of the department or the constituent of the department when you joined, you mentioned that there were only 7 faculty.
8 faculty along, including myself.
And in the early stages, how was the department? Today the department is probably about 50.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how was the department in those days?
See, there is only a civil engineering department as a whole. Now we have structural engineering wing, water resources wing, etc. There was only civil engineering department. Those 8 consisted of 1 person from hydraulics, 1 was assistant engineer who was working as assistant engineer in this institute, was also teaching here, leading to estimation and such subjects he is doing that. There is no recognized person in environmental engineering. Actually, one hydraulics man was there, Panduranga Rao. Survey, one man was there, Nagaraja was there. Structures, our friend Radhakrishnan was there, and Dr. D. He was again not Dr. Victor, he was Mr. Victor Johnson. He was there, and so from soil mechanics and highways put together was under the control of Professor Shankaran.
These were the earliest of the faculty members in the department.
Yeah.
As we know it. Actually, I joined the department 63, 68.
Yes.
And I think you were a faculty at that
I
time.
was a faculty at that time. I do well remember that I have taught you one course on structural analysis.
Yes.
Myself, I taught, and I could remember your face as well as M.S. Vedugopal, who happened to do his PhD along with me. And you two were the quote unquote bright students of the class, which I was very well remembering that.
No, that was good, very good this one. I had a very good innings in civil engineering department, no doubt about it. To give a small example, last year I was in Bangalore, my son is in Bangalore, I was in Bangalore, I was going in Namma Metro, I was just travelling. With first batch, Sujit Chandra, who was a board member, and
railway board member.
He came to me and said he was very much attached to me, I don't know the reason. He said, we will go, sir. He was in charge of structural of
no, I would very easily say.
Metro. So we were going the train. Myself, Sujit Chandra and O.R. Nagaraja, the man who I helped him in survey in those days, because he has some language problem. He is a Karnataka man. Suddenly one student came. Sir, do you remember me? So suddenly she asked me, how do you remember? So I was your student in IIT, civil engineering. My name is so and so. Thank you very much. So he was so happy. And then at the end, you know what? Sir, I should like to take a selfie with you. Good, thank you very much. So I was very overwhelmed by his.
I think very many faculty from the institute, they do have this does happen. People suddenly happen.
See, actually, there are only 16 students in the first batch. For everybody, there are only 8 faculties and 16 students. The staff ratio is 1:2. And we are so closely associated. And my advantage is, my age group was very near to them. Therefore, I was, to be fact, one of the students who finished his BA honours in mathematics, when I was intermediate, he was my classmate intermediate. He finished his BA honours and come and joined BTech here. By then I joined as a faculty. Therefore, that was the intimacy of the student faculty. It was very interesting for us.
In fact, even the campus was very small.
Very small.
I remember that the hostel that came into existence
Kaveri
when I joined was
Krishna.
the Sapti hostel.
No,
And
Sapti came later.
Yeah, when I joined, Professor Shankaran was the warden of the hostel. When I joined, Professor Shankaran was the warden of the hostel. Actually, in those days, how was the department academic structure different from later? For example, as you were mentioning that the director was concentrating on building an institute, so very many of you were involved in building the departments of the institute. Can you share your experiences in that?
No, I was 61 I joined, 67 I was sent abroad. In the meantime, the 6 years the department was very well coming up, only in teaching. There was no absolutely research is very
But teaching labs were coming up,
Yeah.
so you were involved in that kind of.
concrete lab was coming there. There strength materials lab went to actually applied mechanics.
Metallurgy.
So concrete lab was there, and other small laboratories, the part because there was no space. The building science department only bottom was there.
One
So
other
we were-
information, Kalyan, that is, at that time, civil engineering was not assured of the aid from the German government. That's why other departments had the laboratories developed by the German assistants, where civil engineering only hydraulic section had the German aid. We didn't have it. For the development of the concrete laboratory as well as, it was not a structures laboratory, concrete laboratory with facilities to test structures was developed by indigenous things and all. For it was little slow in its development.
I remember even when I was a student, we did not have a structures lab. Came up subsequently.
73 only we gained structures laboratory. At that time, it is in 1970, the German aid for the structural engineering was assured. And that time only Professor Plain was the person, and Karl Cordina from the Braunschweig, where Professor Radhakrishnan was there, was the coordinator from that place. And Plain did the development of the laboratory. Yeah.
Okay, can you just, for example, from let us go a long distance from the time you joined to the time the department you left. Can you just still, what were the major changes that you yourself experienced in the process?
That is, I 61, I joined, 93 I left, 32 years. I was only in the civil engineering department.
So the department in 1961 was not even there.
Yes.
And when you went in 1992, you had the structures lab, and you
Structure,
probably even had the dynamics lab also.
Yes,
already.
started.
So there is a change. So
Because I had my students in dynamics only for PhD. Those students, they did. Actually, one military man was there. I think.
Ambodkare.
Ambodkare.
Right.
I met him even last time in Mysore. He's there still. Both father and son took the day on same day. He took his PhD, his son took his BTech on that day. So this development was very good, very fast at that time, you can say. Because the early stage always we go very fast, beginning. So I can say I was very lucky also, I can say fortunate enough. But one thing was I couldn't digest till is the delay of my PhD. Terrific it was. I had the worst part of it that time. It took nearly 4 years. A submission to get the degree, nearly
There are students today who take 6 years to finish PhD.
No. 4 years for the date of submission to award of degrees.
Understand.
That is the period.
No, but total time was how much?
Total time I joined immediately, registered, 61 I joined.
PhD program, you joined your PhD program at Germany. From that time?
From that time 67 to 72, 5 years only.
So
72 I
5
got my degree.
So 5
Yeah.
years.
5, no, people took it in 2.5 years.
I understand, but those
But
days,
the
yes.
thing is, no,
But
the
today-
reason is, I tell you very frank, there is nothing wrong in it depends upon whom the thesis is sent.
Thesis goes to. Yes, that
That is
happens.
the main thing. So one man sends it within few months, another man sends it in few years. So that helps a lot.
Your experience in terms of how you see the department change.
The
from time to
department, you see, as I joined, I was also put in charge of the concrete laboratory. The concrete laboratory was the smallest material testing laboratory. Therefore, whatever equipment available in India, we were able to procure. Money was not a problem for simple. Only thing is getting it abroad for major equipments, we have difficulties. In 70s, whereas in hydraulics and water resources, the German aid was there, and hence the full-fledged hydraulics engineering laboratory was built up as one of the workshop based like that. Wave flumes came up, and lot of experimental facilities with German equipment coming in was developed. Whereas the other laboratories, it took time. There was one senior faculty who came from Madras University, their College of Engineering, Coimbatore, Professor Mr. Muttaya, who was very much active in getting models or the specimens for geology. And with his personal influence, he could develop the geology laboratory. That was
we used that. I remember still the geology.
geology
course
laboratory
where we had-
with his personal influence, and he was more motivated as a teacher. He had also written a book on that, and he developed the geology laboratory.
It may not be bad to talk about Dr. Muthaiya because I remember him as a student. He is one who took a lot of interest in geology area, but he was also active on the campus. You know, in those days there used to be a canteen. He was in charge of the student canteen.
He started a cooperative society.
Cooperative
Cooperative
society.
society.
So in fact, we as students used to be able to buy books and things like that from the cooperative store. We used to get that book.
No, Muthaiya has at least about 20 years of experience before he joined here at teaching at Coimbatore Institute and in engineering institute of recently good repute, I mean reasonably good repute. Therefore, he knows the necessities of the students, and he was well poised with the students, and he started a cooperative society for books and stationaries and all, which the students found it very comfortable. And he was monitoring it, and he used to sit late in the evening in the cooperative canteen, cooperative stores, and it was so economical for the students to get the things from there, one cheap and available in our campus itself.
In fact, those notebooks used to have the IIT Madras printed on top of it. Among the students in the city, it was a prestige to carry those notebooks. So I remember some of my friends from the other colleges used to come and buy the notebooks from the cooperative store and take it out and flaunt the institute.
It was in that was also in building sciences block in one of the yes,
in the outside.
in that was very interesting. In the structural engineering section, I was talking about hydraulics and geology laboratory developed. So also soil mechanics, which was partly highways and soil mechanics. Since the staff member or the person who was in charge of soil mechanics came from Central Road Research Institute, therefore the development started in the highways section first, because Road Research Institute, Professor Sankaran was so much involved in the road research. Therefore, the bitumen and highways laboratory started, and it developed more than soil mechanics laboratory. Therefore, this next laboratory which came in a bigger way was highways laboratory. Of course, concrete laboratory was developed reasonably well, because the equipments available more in Chennai itself, therefore we could purchase that. That was the development of it. In 70, when the grant came from the German government for the structural engineering laboratory, Professor Plain was nominated, or was sent to this place by Professor Karl Cordina to be in charge of the laboratory. And a reasonably good coordination with Professor Plain, Professor Verghese. Professor Verghese did not interfere in that, and he was just allowing Plain to develop the laboratory. Then Professor P.S. Rao, who joined in 1967, who was put in charge of that laboratory from the Indian side.
He had already got
He
his
had
PhD.
already got the experience from the Munich laboratory where he did his PhD, and he knows all the facilities which is Munich laboratory. Therefore, he wanted to have a replica of the Munich University laboratory, University of Munich, under Professor Rouge. That was one. And Professor Leonhardt came to India for a specific conference in Coimbatore. He visited Madras and stayed about 5 days here, and therefore his input, and also gave the facilities of the development of the laboratory as done in Autograph Institute in Stuttgart. For this particular laboratory was having the input from Karl Cordina's laboratory as Braunschweig, Professor Rouge's ideas from München, and Professor Leonhardt's ideas from Stuttgart. But the model, the physical layout of the laboratory is from that of Braunschweig, and it was done that way. There was also an idea whether to have a strong floor, which is a self-straining system, but that was dropped out, and then we had a strong floor on the top and supported by walls in the basement, so that the basement could be used for storing or some other purpose. That's the first laboratory. Meanwhile, we had developed indigenously structural testing systems in the concrete laboratory itself, which were then moved to the structural laboratory. And the advantage we had was Professor T.P. Ganesan and Dr. T.P. Ganesan, who was also only Mr. T.P. Ganesan, didn't do his doctorate. He came from Highways Research Station at Chennai, at Gindi. And highway research station in Tamil Nadu was one of the, not in Tamil Nadu, in India was the best highway research station is in Tamil Nadu. They had a big workshop also, and a workshop which can thread diameter of say about 40 mm diameter rod can be threaded easily. We got it threaded at that place and brought it here for making a self-straining frame, which would have not been possible if had not been TP Ganesan there and HRS available for us now. There are all certain advantages with recruiting faculty who are already in service somewhere. Professor Ganeshan, Dr. Ganeshan moved from HRS, therefore we had the facilities of HRS also available, not with great difficulty, but easily we could get that now. For things moved positively in the way in structural engineering department with that laboratory came into existence in 1973 March, I suppose.
I may just interfere. I remember some of the colleagues, subsequently when I joined the department, I remember some of the colleagues of my age had physically worked in the laboratory setting up. And just, the
I was telling you, there are three associate lecturers, Aravindan, B.V. Subramaniam, Achyuta. They were all, they worked up to midnight, not even early morning hours, for pouring concrete, checking the concrete, because the thickness of the floor, the accuracy with which the holes where the rods have to be threaded in, and it should carry a 10 tons force. Therefore, the accuracy was very important, and it is not given to the mechanics of the floor. It was given to the faculty members, and therefore faculty members were working along with the mechanics.
I was given time morning 4 to 8. I asked Varghese, why are you? I know you get up very early in the morning, so you come at 3 o'clock and be here.
So faculty members physically present and ensured that the labs came.
That's so heavy duty floor.
Today it's not imaginable, because we have sufficient infrastructure outside to make sure construction goes on. Faculty members give the specification; they are not involved, but things were different at that time.
They are physically involved.
Yes, yeah, then only it will come up, no doubt about it.
You mentioned that the department was initially education based,
yes,
undergraduate education based. Obviously today the institute is very different. In fact, we have a larger number of postgraduate students in the institute than undergraduate students. So the flavor of the institute has changed. Can you just kind of see how, or mention how you saw the changes from an undergraduate teaching laboratory to a postgraduate research institution over these years in your experience?
Because basically we start only with teaching first.
Because anything. For example, I remember when I graduated, I did not even consider doing a postgraduate study here.
Yeah.
I went abroad. And that was because there was just not a research culture in 1968 at that time. And as you were mentioning, there were not very many faculty members also with a PhD. And over the years, things have changed.
Yes.
So I just want you to carry.
But the moment we joined the institute, first actually Professor Sengupta asked, many interviews asked me, what are you doing other than teaching? First question. He said, I am creating this course. Other than teaching, what are you doing? We have to keep our mouth shut, because there is no facility was there here. Even we are not registered for PhD at that time. Then I told Professor Varghese, somewhere next time when I go, I will tell him I have registered for PhD. So with the great difficulty, we registered for PhD. Now we can say we are registered. I registered long back, because 10 years we can say. After that I got my degree. So that was starting, always trouble will be there.
So at least at that time, there was, if nothing else, there was at least an intent
yes.
that a faculty should get into a research program and get research.
Yes.
So
no,
there was a background of the institute director.
I would interfere here. When A. Ramchandran took over as the director, he said that mandate for anybody for getting a promotion is a PhD qualification.
That's what I was
and that was the starting point. Every faculty was interested in registering for PhD. Of course, we did really have good PhDs in the science and research departments. In engineering department, specifically in civil engineering, not many PhDs there in 60s and 70s. If I can name in 60, when I come out of the college, I know only one doctorate in civil engineering was Professor S.R. Srinivasan of College of Engineering, Guindy. And that was the only doctorate, the name is known to me. Other than that, Professor Varghese did PhD and all was around that time only. What I mean to say is, the total PhD in engineering itself was small. At IIT, the motivation was by A. Ramchandran, who said, if you finish PhD, you get your promotion
Yes,
immediate.
that's what I joke.
That was the first thing.
Elephant shot.
And therefore, the faculty research, actually there were not students, the faculty themselves were participating or doing their research in the laboratory till late in the night to see that their PhDs are there. And the research guides were very few. Therefore, number of faculty registered under one senior faculty had to do a lot of work, research work, to see that PhD is research. For from 68 to 73, that culture was a necessity for the staff members to do PhD in addition to teaching. To mention, there was a time when I was doing my MTech, not PhD. Out of 40 hours of the workload that we have, we used to have 36 hours of either doing research or doing teaching or doing by ourselves studies. That was the timetable that we used to have. And even research scholars, they used to work on, I think it is first research
Do
scholar.
you remember who is the first research scholar?
First research scholar is
B.V. Subramanian.
Desikan. No.
From IIT Madras.
Kesav.
Fully from IIT Madras.
Fully from IIT Madras Civil Engineering Department is one Kesavan Nair, Sukeshan Nair,
Sukesh Nair.
Krishna.
who he did nearly 93 specimens tested in concrete laboratory. Unimaginable, because the money involved in pouring concrete, 93 specimens he did.
In which one?
And
What is his area of research?
concrete frame corners.
Frame corners. And he had, actually I used to tell them, he had 2 big volumes of his thesis.
The thesis were 2 volumes.
2 volumes. It was sent abroad. Number for him. Number 2, next was Professor Ganesan, 1 volume. Next for myself, 70 pages.
Actually, the Professor Sukeshan Nair thesis was evaluated by Structural Engineering Research Center Director G.S. Ramaswamy. He was one of the examiners. He said, so much of work, so much of volume of work for one PhD? He asked him in the YOC. Because what is the requirement of doing PhD over one PhD was not well defined. For everybody was afraid, saying that we should get it without any difficulty, do as much as possible. And Sukeshan Nair was, I think his patience I should appreciate, because I was in charge of the concrete laboratory, and any minute I will see that Sukeshan Nair will be demanding for manpower, whereas I should allot manpower for others also. And since he is the first PhD students, the research came into picture after Ramchandran said that it is a must for you to have a PhD for going to a promotion. Therefore, if you see from the records, the faculty doing PhD and completing it was the maximum in 63 to 73, 66 to 73.
And actually subsequently
Then
people
PhDs
were-
joined.
Yeah, people were taken in only with a PhD. They were not. So there was a transition.
No, there was a joke also. From class 4 post to class 3 if you want to come. Must have a PhD. IIT Madras. It was there.
So then actually I
Class four,
remember,
class
because what
three.
I'm saying is, very many other institutions have gone through a similar
Quite
transition
possible.
in India. For example, when the RECs became NITs,
Yes.
they went through similar transition. Prior to that, there was not an insistence on research in these institutions, so very many faculty did not. And then when it became NITs, people were started asking, what is your research output? And the faculty had difficult time, to be able to. So all these national institutions have gone through this type of phase. What are the differences in the administrative structure of the institute from the time it was established as you went through the department to it? Can you kind of touch upon that?
Before that,
You are
I-
actually also a dean administration,
Dean
so
administration.
probably
I don't have-
you should
I
say
was
See,
more
what I would say is, I would put it in a different way. That is, the structure of the institute was academically oriented, research oriented, with administrative staff with minimum till around 68, around that. Then afterwards this administrative building came up now. Then we had one floor reserved for account section plus trash, one floor for administration, one floor for the director's office at the top post floor along with Senate's room and all, one floor for engineering unit, and one floor for accounts and
Academic.
academic. These are all the things. Then, since the research degrees were to be awarded, there's a research wing, there is a
Course wing.
Then we had two wings, one course wing and research wing. Earlier there was only one administration which took care of administration and academic activities. The one superintendent will be there for academic, one superintendent will be there from administration. Then they were made assistant registrar. That was the time when it was in 64, 65 and all. Then afterwards academic separately, and because the examination pattern etc. were also changed. Question papers were set internally and that has to be monitored, and we had weekly examinations that has to be monitored. Then the periodical system, all those things were slowly developed from 63 up to say, let's say 70s. That brought in very high academic responsibilities load on the institute, therefore academic section grew. Simultaneously the workshop and other areas, we had the class 3, class 4 staff numbers increasing because the research departments wanted workshop for itself. Every department wanted a workshop. Therefore there were mechanics, instrument mechanics. Therefore the administration of all those things, the so-called class 3, class 4 sector was in the high, and it was around 500 and odd at that time, about 70, 75 like that. When it came to, when it is around 90, not 90, it was in 78, 79 when Professor Indresan joined, he said there will be deans who will take the responsibilities. For one is Dean Academic Affairs, and one Dean Academic Research Affairs, another Dean on Industrial Consultancy, one Dean for Students, and then one Dean for
Administration. Dean Administration.
Dean Administration. That's not Dean Administration, it was Dean Administration. It was not called Dean Administration. It was, yes, it was Dean Administration. Earlier to it is called Professor in charge of faculty, and that was considered the Dean Administration. Because
Actually,
for
I
a
remember the Indra is the one who introduced the dean system
deans
in
at
this
that time,
institute. Yeah.
and for each dean there will be one unit where will be representation from each department, student member, board of students, board of academic courses, board of academic research, like that. For each department has to send one faculty for board of research, one faculty for dean of academic board of academic courses, one faculty for dean of students, one faculty for dean of industrial consultancy. For each department represented in those deans, and there will be dean who will look into the overall development of that particular area, and that was how the development started.
Would you say that this is, he started as an institution which was a top driven to an institution which became little more democratic in terms of its representation, administration? I think, would you say that this is the transition? Where, for example, I remember when I was a student, heads of the department was always there, is a permanent position, and he was pretty powerful. And by the time I came back as a faculty, head of the department post was no more permanent, it was a 3-year duration. So, and also this type of representation of faculty input into the administrative as well as the
that came in, it started in 73, 74 with professors in charge.
Right.
They were not deans, the professors in charge of various wings now. We had a separate curriculum development cell for various department. That was not amongst the deans, and there
You
was
were also in charge.
curriculum development cell was not there. By the time I joined the institute, the dean's positions had come.
No, there was a professor curriculum development cell was there. Then there was a cell for what is that? Doing this editing and all those things. Matthews was there. What is that? Photography, something connected with that. I don't get the name for that. Professor Swami, do you know that? There is a department, one establishment was there. It is since around 73 the industrial consultancy, after the 68-73 period when research was given the weightage. In 73 it was said that you should also participate in the industrial consultancy so that your input must be available for the industry. For industrial consultancy was started at that time only, and the deans came into picture only in 78, 79.
Okay.
There was also industrial consultancy. Therefore, from 73 to 79, the mode of operation in the institute was percentage of your work will be in academic teaching and research, percentage of work is development of research activities, percentage of time is allotted for consultancy. That was the allotment of time. Each department has its own method of allotting the time for the faculty depending on their interest and ability, wherever they can put more efforts, but the output for the department shall be maximum. And there was a student evaluation for the students, that was for the teaching
That
staff.
was introduced late 80s.
No, that is
late
70s.
Late 70s,
late
79 or
70s.
80. Huh?
There is
period.
Therefore, what happened is this demarcation of various areas was available only after 75, 78, around 78, which means if you say a democratic way of running the institute.
When I say democratic, I meant
Atmosphere.
input came from the users of the service.
Yes.
Earlier the input was not there from users of the service. Earlier, somebody at the top, knew what was like, and then that was handed
that
down.
was in 70. When it came to afterwards, when I was also having certain other responsibilities, I will tell later. There
We
was
have
a
a break
necessity
for
of.
Should I have a break? I think we are sitting for more than.
Yeah, we just want to have a breakfast.
I will complete this row.
Okay.
There was a necessity of different. See, the institute has grown big. The class 3, class 4 staff were large numbers, and they need lot of money. They needed lot of money. Therefore, they went on borrowing from outside, and borrowing at an interest rate of 25%, 30%.
The staff member. You mean the class 3, class 4 staff members?
Staff.
Right.
Then I think it was Professor Kuryakos of the chemistry department who said that this should not be allowed, because the person who collects the money right at the first of this month, he will be right in the beginning of administration block, at the start of administration block.
The loan sharks.
And shocks. Therefore, we started a thrift society to whatever it is worth it. Thrift society.
I remember.
Therefore,
You were in charge of
I was in
for
charge
some
of thrift society also. And when the times when the deans were appointed, there was also professor in charge of engineering unit, because originally engineering unit was headed by one superintending engineer. Afterwards, the superintendent engineer cannot be deputed from the central government. They had to have their own engineers.
Sure.
Therefore, we had one professor in charge of engineering unit with executive engineer down below. There were areas which are headed by separate people, like
There were different centers were there.
different centers were also there. Photographic center was there. There was a curriculum development center was there. I don't know, 2 or 3 centers are also there. That is the way in which administration developed.
Center for Continuing Education.
Continuing education.
Continuation. See, so
We've been talking about academic activities associated with the institute, but you all have lived in this campus for 30 plus years.
Yes.
And you have had other hobbies other than the academic activity and also campus life. Can we touch upon that? For example, you have stayed in the campus for a longer time also.
Yes.
Can you touch upon what you think is the value? For example, most of the faculty I know consider as a perk in working in IIT Madras is the living on campus. Living on campus is a perk which nothing else can bring to us. So what's your take on that?
my thing is my life in campus for 32 years is very wonderful, no doubt about it. In that, after 1970, I come back from Germany. I had contact with Professor Kumar Swami, who was in the
Yeah, I was going to come to that. Kumar Swami as a faculty has done a lot of
Metallurgy department.
spirituality
Yeah,
to
spirituality,
the
that's what is it. So that life was evening, that night through the institute life, but evening hours, that was really wonderful, where nobody can get it anywhere, even in Madras.
I remember number of you learned Veda from
Yes,
him during
correct.
Veda
Not only
classes.
that, not only that one. Now I am present as IIT only now. Nobody knows me as Radhakrishnan in my family or my community. IIT is coming, they will say, as if personified. I am like that. But he made us expert in all, many questions you ask, either in this one or he will answer. Unfortunately, he is no more. I know you know
Professor
that.
Kumaraswamy was a faculty in metallurgy department.
Metallurgy department, he became his assistant professor. He took his MS here also, and then he didn't complete his PhD. He didn't want it, perhaps. But outside the office hours, after 4, he was very helpful in framing our general questions, many things
About life.
about life, many things, no doubt it. We had regular classes in nobody, many people didn't come, of course. You can say there are 650 families in India, how many people made use of Kumaraswamy, that's different. That is purely personal. But whatever people use, they made very excellent it was. Actually, there was one Raman, I don't know if you know him, in mechanism department, professor.
No.
He was the man who, I remember, who didn't go to any teaching profession or research profession after his retirement. He followed only this one. He gives lectures in Tamil in Madurai, and I was in touch with him. That was brought by him only. That type of life also was very useful, no doubt about it.
You were also part of that.
The life in IIT Chennai, I mean campus, has been wonderful. See, everything is available inside the campus. The shopping center, though small, took care of the immediate necessities of the campus. And if at all we can go to Adyar and do it now. Therefore, the faculty's members' life was enjoyable. As far as the ladies are concerned, there is a ladies' club. They were also mixing up with other ladies and they are having a really good time. And level at which they are able to move around and talk around and all, they brought them to a higher level of culture itself, and not looking at local politics and all those things. They are able to discuss things better as a free citizens of the country. To that level, the entire campus
So
has
did
been.
the children. So did the children.
So also the children. Children had education in the KV school, Kendriya Vidyalaya here, and which is a cosmopolitan group of people there. Other school, Vanavani school. For it is an excellent campus life that we have had all these things. Added to it,
Made it difficult to go out of the campus.
very,
right
very
after that.
difficult. That's why you see, even people who are retired, they would like to stay as much as possible inside the campus. And those who got into a position called emeritus, they would like somehow get into the place, and that is the attraction of the campus. And still it is there. And we, as Professor Radhakrishnan said, we had additional advantage of leading us into the spiritual life of doing it and understanding that. See, there are so many things which are being done in the society as a ritual. But what Kumaraswamy made us understand is, it is not a ritual. Please understand what you are doing. Please question yourself whether things are right or wrong. If you find it wrong, unless you are feeling it right, you need not have to do it. Please look into that. To that extent, he has brought us to that level. Along with it, the ritualistic part also, citing Vedas and attending functions for the festival rituals, that has been excellent. Even to date, the people in the temple will definitely feel that the culture in the temple has been brought up to this level. In those days when Kumaraswamy was the faculty here, he was also head of the, president of the Temple Samajam for some time. And the temple, the growth and its activities today is comparable to any one of the bigger temples in the society, and they have been doing well. I think nothing to criticize or nothing to comment about the campus life on the negative side. If at all you should say, yes, here is a campus which has to be emulated anywhere else. That is how you should say.
In fact, I remember most of the faculty members coming from other IITs also appreciated the greenness of this campus. This is one of the things that's outstanding about the campus. The campus has maintained its greenness over these years in spite of the growth, and it has been, in fact, I was told when I became a student here, Professor Sengupta decided that the roads will go where it gets the least amount of trees. You know, in those days people would not even know about ecology or environment, but he had the vision to say that the campus will be built such that it will have the least amount of disturbance to the existing flora and fauna. That's one.
We had some problem with the temple also. It's not that easy. When Professor Ramajan was the director, one day he called me. I said, director wants you. Director wants you. I said, he wants me, director, I don't know. I'm not in the, I told him plainly, I'm not in the inner circle of the director. Why do you want me? I know he wants you.
Talk louder, sir.
So next day, there was no telephone those days. House connection was there. Somebody came and said the director wants. So next day I said, I'll come, 10 o'clock, he wants to meet you. Then I said, the question was, nothing was there. Who built this temple? There was a question in the parliament. I want the answer in 3 days, Radhakrishnan. He said, you are the secretary of the temple Samajam, so I want to answer the question, the following 4 questions. That was approved the parliament also, because there was no other thing else. So it came up, this one, and it was constructed by, actually the architect was only the Y.S. Ramaswamy, the
then superintendent engineer.
engineer.
But the temple, there was a village temple that existed
Yes,
in
yes,
that
there
place.
was a temple, the
village
lingam was
temple,
there.
just the
There
lingam
is
was
only a
there.
lingam was there.
Sancta Sanctorum.
So what he used to do is, I tell you, I was there from 61, it was before construction, first Kumbhavashana I was there. What he used to do is, the people who finished all the contract whatever, the balance material he used to put in the temple, just to put it. Like that it was constructed. No, he didn't collect anything, money from anywhere outside there. Just balance things, don't throw it outside, put it inside and go away. It was constructed like that and went developed. All the big things, Shankaracharya Swami came and blessed this one, that's all. It came up now, it has got a very good name outside. That's the one I want to tell you. Because even yesterday I was here, the temple. I did some puja yesterday
The
morning.
question came because of so-called secularism in the parliament.
part of
And
the-
afterwards,
So I answered the question.
it was also answered to that effect, saying
Yes.
that secularism does not mean no religion, but it is a thing. If somebody has asked for certain other facilities, who would not have been denied. There was an Ayyappa Samajam inside the temple itself.
Is there?
Therefore, it's there. Therefore, there has not been any differentiation in the temple. That was the answer given. And it is accepted by parliament.
I have been here as a student, and then I had also joined back as a faculty, and I was used to be called as a bacha of the department because I was the youngest faculty at the time. And I have seen both the student side and the faculty side of the campus. And I think one of the things that kind of makes a difference in this institute is the student-faculty relationship. It's never been an adversarial relationship. It has always been a friendly relationship. Faculty look at the students as something that they are trying to facilitate their learning, and the students see the faculty as people. There may be exceptions to this, but as a general rule, there has been a very congenial relationship between faculty and
Definitely.
students in
No
this
doubt
campus,
about it.
and that is something I think that needs to be spoken about. And it's one of the reasons why the education takes place in the way, in the environment that it is taking place. The other thing is, I remember as soon as I came back to join faculty, Indirasan was particularly interested in the student-faculty interaction. And part of the type of interaction is also in civil engineering department, the Civil Engineering Association. Can you the Civil Engineering Association has been very active, in the department, and in fact every year students and faculty used to choose a topic and debate that topic in the Civil Engineering Association. Can you just reminisce in any of those things that you have been involved in? Can you remember that? Do you remember that?
But I was the man who inaugurated the Civil Engineering Association. Because Varghese asked me, already you had experience in Guindy Engineering, why don't you inaugurate? All right, we started. But afterwards, as you said, every year we used to have some meeting, get together, all those things. It was very good, you can say.
In fact, I remember one debate was whether students who are leaving the country to study abroad and staying, are they forsaking the country? This is a student and faculty. Students spoke for and against, faculty spoke for against. We had a nice discussion. I think these are the type of...
We had student interactions with faculty very well, because not only the Civil Engineering Association, so many activities we had. Hostel day celebration, there will be regular visits for the hostels from the faculty members meeting there. Lot of discussions, non-academic discussions also will take place. Students will say, what shall we do after doing that? They will take suggestions from the faculty, an open-ended suggestion. It does not mean that they got to do it and all. Such a atmosphere is there. And unless we see something negative, we will not be able to say this, the beauty of this now. And we have been looking at always this positive side. You have gone outside and have come, therefore if you say that this has been positive here, then I think we should
In fact,
accept
I
it.
remember the other way also. There used to be time where we used to have the students come and visit our family and spend some time
That's
together.
what
We used
I-
to have together. And I remember even today, some of the students will come and say, you used to have us for Diwali. Those are the type of interaction that we had, and that's one of the nice features.
That is
the
one of the things that even those days when the institute was planned, hostel wardens were located in the hostel zone itself. There were only 7 hostels at that time, therefore there were 6 quarters. Afterwards it has grown big, and therefore the wardens are somewhere here. Otherwise, the interaction with them was students going to the warden and warden going to the students. Yeah, every time is very comfortable.
For example, Holi is one of the festivals which is very fervently, and it's one of the nice programs where student faculty interact. And so there are nice facilities for that.
As such, we have seen only positive side of it, and therefore we are not able to appreciate so much as a person who has seen a negative side and then able to see this.
Both of you have held some administrative posts. I think you were head of the department for some time, head of the laboratory for some time.
Both.
Right. And then you were also a dean for some time. Can you just share some anecdotes, just an incident which kind of brings out the intricacies of the position that you held? Just one incident, if it comes to your mind. Otherwise, you can specifically talk about. See, one of the things that when I joined the institute is I found that the amount of time faculty members spend in other than academics, in administrative work, in the institutes, I always felt was high. It was higher than most institutions that I have been used to. And in fact, I remember that when I was a faculty in the US, I probably would have never met the president of the institute. And the dean, I would probably meet, dean of engineering, I would probably meet once in 3 months when we have a faculty meeting. And head of the department, probably once a month. But I found that things were very different here. We spent a lot more time in the administrative setup. So each of you in your position as administrators, how do you feel that is so, or was it necessary, or could there be a change in terms of the amount of administrative load on the institute?
Two things I would like to mention. One is about administrative load, which you asked for. I will come later. As a dean administration, I was in charge of arranging for the faculty recruitment and the selection process and who should be called for interview and all. We developed norms because there should be uniformity amongst the various departments. In that process itself, we found it difficult. Department to department, there was difference. Then for each department, we developed a norm. But the basic concept was that the activities are to be taken as teaching along with student evaluation, research along with paper output, publication output, and consultancy along with turnover and also money, the money institute got.
Funded research.
Then funded research. Then the projects that we got from central government. These are all the areas in which each department can say that we will allot these various areas for the faculty. But the faculties were also allowed to make their own decision. The spectrum is open. How much of time that you will allot for this activity, this activity, this activity, this activity. You can decide at the beginning of the year, and at the end of the year, or when you come for your evaluation, what is your original decision and how have you come up to that. That was the item which we were referring to for calling them for interview. Because the one person may be very good at teaching, he must have got good record. One person may be very good at consultancy, some person may be very good at it. We need every area to be seen.
But nevertheless, I think it's true that in the process of actually there is no promotion. It's everything, every faculty
everything
comes
is
from selection. This process of selection, teaching and research take predominance in
That's true. That what we said is the allotment was 30, that is teaching and research put together is 60. That is a minimum. You can have more. You cannot have less than that. Then consultancy 20 and sponsored research 20. That you can change. You can make all the 40 years sponsored research and all the 40 years consultancy. But the teaching and research has to make 60%. That you have got to accommodate. You cannot make teaching 20 and then remaining other things. That was not allowed. This was also notified to the departments, and head of the department was requested to tell in the head of the meetings of the faculty members that they should present it. When we evaluated the persons for calling for interview, because we must have shortlisting, the shortlisting by the time when I became a dean was little difficult in the sense that there were already court cases in the institute saying that you have not listed certain person for selection. Shortlisting should not be done by the administration, it should be done by the selection committee itself. And that was taken note of by Professor Indiresan's time itself indirectly, in which he said one member of the selection committee will be in the seminar when it is being presented. That was taken into consideration when I was a dean, and saying that there is a shortlisting process is also taken. That also was not inadequate, it was not adequate, because one case came up afterwards that at the time when the seminar was conducted, shortlisting has been already done. For what we had to do at that point of time is shortlist it, send it to the chairman board of governors, get his initials first, and afterwards when the selection committee meets, it is again told to all the members, this is a shortlisting norm, is there any other person who is having a different opinion, then we give the entire set of applications and look into it. That was done. That was the administration procedure standardized at that point of time, so that shortlisting, there are no case arriving at it. Then
that's kind of getting into the details. I'm just thinking in terms of the one of the, for example, you were saying dean administration's responsibility was faculty selection. I remember Professor Indiresan was there, when we are recruiting faculty, don't think we are recruiting an assistant professor. We are recruiting somebody who is going to become a professor. So you look at him even at the time of recruitment, whether it's got a capability to become a professor.
No, that was the interview committee's responsibility to say whether this material is worth in institute to take any faculty position at any point of time in future to the head of the departments, and that is, it is not only connected with his academic research, his overall development as a personality, we has to be looked into. That was
but I think more important was whether he can become a professor, because not everybody is expected to become a HOD.
No, not. Professor is very important position. Dean, Professor Indiresan used to say, I am not important as the director of the institute. The president of MIT is not very important. But the faculty members who make the department known outside is very important. Therefore, do not look at the director as the person. You look at somebody else and say that this is the person who would have likely me.
In fact, I think that's one of the things that we find in India. For example, just you were mentioning, the director of, president of MIT may not be known, but the Nobel laureates of the MIT will be known outside the Kana. And we have still not developed that kind of a culture in these institutions.
We are taken from the, we have come from the British culture. And therefore, it is not so easy to, because it will not be unparliamentary if I say, but still I would like to be very guarded in my statement and should not be misquoted. The ethics in the society is the one which makes all these things. Because if a person is true to himself and he would like to look at problems from others' shoes, if they are able to do that, then we will be able to come a long way off. That is wanting, and therefore we have to have some kind of a structured system.
I say, for example, sir, that is true, sir, but on the other hand, there is often a statement, what should I do to become a professor? It's a question that's being asked by all faculty members. And I think answer has been time and again that it cannot be in terms of numbers. You have to show your ability to occupy a position of a professor in this institute by your performance, teaching, research at a level which is internationally recognized.
No, I would like to put that. I had a question, or I had a petition from one of the faculty who were looking for a professor's position. He has appeared 4 or 5 times. He has sent a petition to the director, which was forwarded to me. He said, what wrong have I committed? I have done all these things. You have asked that how many papers, etc., etc. Last year I did this much, and now this year I have made this much. Everywhere I show progress. And what is the effect of these things? In the next interview I have not been selected. And he also quotes somebody else with all these records and all those things. It's very, very difficult to satisfy requirements.
No, but actually it's a selection committee. Finally, it is a selection
committee process, I say. But there must be a faith in that.
Yeah.
There must be a faith in that. And people should say the people sitting there are doing their best in their positions. And similarly, when a person is not being selected, he should feel, yes, something is wrong, we should set it right. And there should not be a feeling of saying that I have been dishonored, something like that. This is the one thing which is the
always-
plague in this. It's a system development. We cannot do it anyway further. It is very difficult. I don't know if you have any other suggestion.
It all is a question, it will evolve. over
Evolve.
period of time. I was just going to ask, you have been head of the department. Often it is thought that head of the department post is not very important or visible. But I have found that time and again, the head of the department make a lot of difference to the department. Can you just corroborate and
I
then
was only
see
head of
what your
department
opinion on that is?
Quite short, very short, my head of the department. So I have not, I can say I have not done anything very big at that time, because when Professor Krishnamurthy was away abroad, he was made interim head of the department. That's all. The moment he came over, he took it about 3 months. I was at the department officially.
You were head of the laboratory for some time.
I was head of the laboratory
So
for years,
can
no
you say,
problem.
do these heads, heads of the department, heads of the laboratory, do they make a difference to the department laboratory?
I don't think there is any difference it makes.
I think it makes sense.
Sir, it makes a difference. In
What
my
I'm saying
opinion,
is, for example, I think a dynamic head of the laboratory could make the laboratory function differently from what it is. Because
Functioning-
see, one of the things that IIT system has is the ability to make decisions for yourself. It is not somebody from outside who imposes their will. For example, faculty of the department decide, individual faculty of the department decide what kind of research they want to do, and the department as a whole decides what is that they want to progress in. So there is a considerable amount of autonomy at each level. So given that, head of the department, I think our head of the laboratory can make a difference, and I have seen that to be so in time and again. So
in my opinion, participation of the head of the department in every activity of the department, which will be a strain on his system because he has to attend so many 3 or 4 sections and all, is very important. He should show interest in every department to the best of the possible way that he can. He should show. Any research activity, he should spend time to understand that. It is not in my area, therefore let somebody talk of it. It's not that. It is the necessity of the head of the department to have an overall view of all the sections.
So, in effect, what you are saying is, head of the department can play a very
Can
facilitating role.
play
But then,
really a
all said and done, individual faculty member drive the research, but head of the departments or head of the laboratories can play a facilitating role.
But sometimes, suppose you say the head of the department is not able to recommend to the field what he is doing, what to do. For example, for my case, I was doing completely in dynamics. So the head of the department was not able to do anything in dynamics. So he has to get the help from other departments. That he can do it only by his influence.
No, actually, sir, what I'm saying is, when you are head of the department, you are really not evaluating the specific technical contribution, but you are evaluating the person's ability to do research. That is
Yes,
what you are
yes,
doing.
yes.
So as it stands now, after all, we sit in a seminar when faculty members are selected and give our feedback. We may not be specialists in that area. Nevertheless, we understand that the thoroughness of the research that the person is presenting and things like that are the ones you judge. In fact, I think one of the strengths of the IIT system is at every level, it places the responsibility at that level to exercise the responsibility. And as a result, I think we have been able, as long as we exercise the responsibility that we are assigned to, the institute tends to be in good hands. As long, whereas a person who is outside, who is not knowledgeable about what is happening, but as you were saying, that such responsibility should be exercised with fairness and with the interest of the department or the institute in mind. I think the system has progressed well simply because the institute has had that type of facility. The other thing is the culture of the students over years, both in undergraduate level and postgraduate level. Do you see any difference?
Yes.
What would be the changes that you think are positive? What are the changes you think are negative? Maybe I'll come to you first, sir. You have stayed longer. What are the changes that you see in the undergraduate students? Let's talk about undergraduate students first.
Undergraduate students, they are actually, it is difficult to manage because they are too young, I can say. When they come to these things, about hardly 18 years or so.
But they used to be young even when I was a student.
Right. Although it's easy for us also to bring them to the line. It's not difficult. Whereas postgraduate students or PhD students is a little bit tough to manage. So I find the undergraduate students are quite good in this one.
But do you see a change? What I'm saying, compared to when you joined the institute, the undergraduate student, and the change today, undergraduate student.
I find now I don't know. I left in
at the time you retired. At the time.
I find a good change.
And
It was there.
What are
It
the
was
positive changes? What are the negative changes?
Positive changes is, you can say, first thing is they come on their own to the institute. So that thing always is there with them. The students who join IIT Madras, they come on their own. No recommendation, nothing is there. So that thing always is there.
That has existed all along.
All along, that is there, it is there. But the 50% of the students who come after joining the institute, they come quite all right and they do behave very well, all those things else. I like them very much, no doubt about it. I find improvement also after this because they become more matured within 2 years, 4 years course. At the end of 2 years, they come all right and then I find them very good at the end. I find them a lot of improvement, no doubt about it.
What is your opinion, particularly with regard to postgraduate students over these years?
The activities in which they are engaged is beyond the activities of the department and beyond the activities in which they should be engaged.
You mean to say in terms of programs like Shastra and Sarang?
All those, I don't want to name anything. The activities that they are supposed to be engaged or the activities they are engaged in is academic and other things. Beyond this, their activities are there which is uncontrolled. And this is one thing which is caused by the society. And no person, whether it be the director or the dean or whatever it is, would like to interfere in that, so that they say that they are left to themselves. But they are left to themselves not as free citizens of India, they are left to themselves as students of IIT. Therefore, still the institute administration has the responsibility, and since they are owning them as students of that institute, they should be guided properly.
Actually, sir, if you take a look at it, I remember the student governance is one of the things. If you take a look at it, IIT Madras also has got an election year after year on selecting the student government, and it goes on nicely. You don't see the type
election.
of
Election.
I'm giving that as an example. And similarly, if you take a look at Shastra and Sarang, it builds their ability to organize quite extensively. And for example, in other sections of this institute where they want to get the student activity, they are trying to emulate Shastra and Sarang because they have set up a procedure by which organize events. So these are successful programs that they are able to run. You want to say something as a concluding remark, if you have anything to say that you think has not been discussed?
Actually, out of my 32 plus 5, 37 years of service, teaching. So 32 years I spent in IIT Madras out of 36. So I had a wonderful stay, I can say, and my stay was very fruitful, and my children are well set up, no doubt about it, because IIT was having all those advantages, no doubt about it. Wherever I go, somebody asks, where are you in IIT? So many years. So yes, I was in IIT so many years, and especially now people don't believe that I left IIT 25 years before. 1992 October I retired. 92 October, 2017 October is coming. So 25 years since I left.
But you still, IIT is fresh in you.
Yes, no doubt.
Yesterday I see my experience, total experience in the IIT campus is 41 years. The longest that one could have it at that time. Now it's research. The age of faculty is gone up now. Earlier it is 62. I had 40 years in this institute. Really enjoyable and very pleasant. My daughter even now says, the best life I have had, that she is now about 48. She says, IIT life has been enjoyable. And she tells everywhere, wherever she goes around the world, this is the best life in India if you want to have, just go to IIT for some time. The final word I would say, given an opportunity, the director permits us to come and join IIT campus, I will be free to join it.
If the God allows you to become 20 years old again, so that you can go through this whole thing again.
I will go through that. That's the next one. But even to date, if a facility is there, if not a facility, if the permission is there, that we can have some kind of a small residence in a single room apartment in this, you would prefer this IIT than anywhere else in this
country.
country.
We will lose the forest if we do that.
No, that's what I say.
Actually, as I said, I have been a student here and a faculty here, and I have also seen how the academic rigor has gone up over the years. I remember that what was expected of me in terms of publications and things like that, to become an associate professor has considerably gone up today. Today, the expectation of faculty in terms of what they are supposed to be publishing is much higher than. So the academic rigor expectations from faculty has gone up over the years. I think that's something that's for a growing institution which wants to become an international. That's the direction in which it should move.
That's only reasonable for the reason
Yes.
that days when facilities were less, we were asked to do certain things. Now facilities are available. Everything has gone to digital.
I think, sir, on the other hand,
And on the right, it is requirement and that everywhere you should look a little higher than what you are originally having a status. Then only you will be finding improvement.
in fact, I remember the funded research. When I joined this institute, one of the things, because I was used to the American system, I was looking for a funded research. When I talked to my colleague, they used to say funding in civil engineering is unheard of. You know, there's no funding in civil engineering. But today, every faculty within a year of joining the department has one funded research project with them. So that shows how things have changed
Yes.
over the years in
Definitely.
terms of the research culture in this institution. You know, and the change in teaching, education. I remember Professor P.S. Rao, one of the senior faculty, saying that when you were all students and when I taught a subject, I knew that you would go and use the subject in your profession. That is, he was teaching reinforced concrete. If I become whether you become an engineer, whether you will practice reinforced concrete. But at the time of his retirement, when I go and teach the class today, I'm not so sure because half the students in this class will not be civil engineers, and most of the other departments also say half the students in my class will not be mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, computer scientists, and that in a way also reflects how the country has changed over when the 40 years ago, even the opportunities in the area of your engineering was low. Today, people have beyond engineering profession opportunities in other areas, and that also shows the way that
I would like
country
to
has-
add one point there. I was connected with industry after leaving this office, IIT, for 15 years in the industry. During that period, the later part of that period, I found an IIT graduate, he don't bother about civil engineering, mechanical engineering, the IIT graduate can fit in any profession, not necessarily engineering, finance, administration, any profession. The training in this institute is good enough for making a man near perfect in any profession. He takes it up with sincerity. I have found that as an industry and also in the professional world outside.
I think that's also an indication of broad base of education that
Yes.
the students
To
get,
that
and
extent, I
exposure
say-
to other than academics
Other
also.
than academic, that is
Other
very
than
important.
academic.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much for your time, and I think we had a good discussion
Very good,
about
sir.
your experiences, and thanks for sharing it with us.
So we are really pleased, and it's a great pleasure for me to
To-
tell
I-
you that our experience, to talk about it and being nostalgic about it, we are elated to be with you today, and we thank you
Best
for
part
giving
of
an
it,
opportunity.
I had both the things as my students.